we're looking at Title III of the ADA, and this is the basic rule. It requires that places of public accommodation provide full and equal access to goods, services, privileges, and facilities. So that's the blanket default rule that we're talking about. And it deals with, pretty much all aspects of a typical business open to the public. So what Title III of the ADA does is, among other things, it creates a private right of action for enforcement of the law. So rather than having, let's say, the building department or a city inspector go out to businesses and inspect them for compliance, what the law does here is allows individuals with disabilities to bring a lawsuit and enforce the law that way. Incidentally, the Department of Justice can also enforce the law. They can actually investigate businesses and enforce the law that way. But by and large, this law is enforced through private litigation. And that's a little controversial because it was passed under an idea that you don't want to have another large government bureaucratic institution enforcing this law, which I can certainly understand. But at the same time, it can easily create this cottage industry and the potential for litigation abuse by allowing people and incentivizing them in some areas to bring litigation. So there are roughly 10,000 ADA lawsuits filed in U.S. federal courts per year. That's just federal courts. State court is harder to track, so it's tougher to get statistics on that. Some of the litigation hotspots for the ADA are California, New York, Florida, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Texas. And as we'll see, there's been sort of a shift in California away from federal courts towards state courts. Okay, so here we've got ADA federal lawsuits by state, and as you can see there on the left, New York, California, and Florida really are the standout locations where these types of lawsuits are filed, and that's because particularly in California and New York, there are state laws that tack onto the ADA and provide statutory damages, so they really incentivize this type of litigation. So there's been an increase in ADA Title III lawsuits over time. You can see sort of a steady march upwards. That decrease in 2022 is, I think, largely attributable to California cases moving from federal court to state court. Again, here we're only looking at at federal cases, but in general, there are pretty consistently above 10,000 for the last 5 years or so. So here's an example of what I am referring to, tracked by state. Here's California in blue at the top, and you've got New York in purple, and Florida here in green. And this is federal litigation, federal ADA litigation, and I can tell you, at least anecdotally, there really has not been a drop off from 2021 to 2022 in the total number of both federal and state cases in California, but there's been a big drop off away from federal and towards California state cases. So, the federal courts have gotten a bit fed up with the number of ADA cases filed in California. They've been cracking down on them. And so a lot of the serial plaintiffs that file thousands, certainly hundreds of cases, they are moving away from the less friendly federal forum to the more friendly state court forum.